Hello, everybody. My name is Craig Marsh. I'm Pro-Vice Chancellor, and it's my great honour and pleasure to be the head of the College of Business, Lincoln International Business School at the University of Lincoln. It's great to have you all with us. I hope you've been enjoying the Open Day so far. And this part of our virtual Open Day is to go through some of the really important, essential details or facts about the study at the University of Lincoln. So we're going to be talking about accommodation, we're going to be talking about finance, we're going to be talking about the application process and some of the support that the university gives to our students while you're studying here. So in order to do that over the next 30 or 40 minutes or so, I'm joined by my colleagues. So I'm just going to introduce them all briefly so everybody knows who is on the panel with me this morning. So I'll start with Catherine. Catherine, good morning.
Good morning. Hello. My name's Catherine Turner. I am the Advice Service Manager at the university, and part of my role is to deal with student finance questions.
Great, thanks, Catherine. So Catherine will indeed be talking about some of those really important financial issues this morning. So thanks for joining, Catherine. Tommy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tommy, and I'm an international officer here at the university. So my role is to support students kind of all throughout their application process, from inquiry all the way through to finding out more to arriving here on campus.
Great, thanks, Tommy. And Tommy, I'm sure won't mind me saying that he's also a former student here at the university as well, so we can talk about things from lots of different perspectives. Thanks, and it's great to see you here, Tommy. Morning, Ben.
Good morning, Craig. Good morning, everybody. My name's down there is Ben Ball, Accommodation Services, and hopefully be able to give you some idea of the process and the kind of availability and any other questions you might have on accommodation.
Fantastic, that's great. Thanks, Ben. We'll be hearing from Ben in a few minutes. And finally, Philippa.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Philippa, and I'm one of the student administration managers here at the university. And part of my role is to look after the admission side of the student journey, if you like. And so I'm here today to talk about that.
That's great. Thanks, Philippa. And in fact, you can stay on the call, because I think what we'll do is start with your expertise this morning for me. And it's kind of logically, it's the first thing students, I guess, will be thinking about is how do I apply? And of course, for a February intake, whether undergrad or postgrad, they may be a little unsure or confused about what the process is, because it's perhaps maybe they'll think it's not standard. So so Philippa, perhaps you could kick us off in our discussion just by talking us through from the perspective of a student, either undergrad or postgrad, what they should do and how they should go about that. Philippa? Yeah,
sure. Thank you. So I think first off, I think it's really important that applicants check the entry requirements for particularly if they're going to join in February, because it might be a little bit confusing in that even though they would be joining an intake in 2021, and we actually apply the 2020 entry requirements to those applicants. So it's really important that applicants check those requirements, because some of them have changed from they change year on year. So if applicants go on our website, they can actually select the 2020 tab on the course details pages, where they can check the entry criteria for that particular course they're looking at. So yeah, it's just really important that they check that first. In terms of applying, so for all full-time undergraduate applications, they should be made through UCAS, which is the Universities and Colleges Admission Service in the UK. And for postgraduate applications for us at the University of Lincoln, they should be made directly through our online application system, which is a really handy tool. It takes you through step by step of what you need to do. I think some universities still use a paper-based system, so we're quite fortunate that we have our own online system for our postgraduate applications. As I was saying, each program has its own course page, and there's an apply button or apply now button on the course pages. So if you click on that, if applicants click on that, they will find the relevant links to be able to start an application for either an undergraduate or postgraduate course. So it's quite clear on there where the apply button is. So yeah, if applicants go to that part of our website, they can see that and view that. Just another point on when applying as well, it's really important, another thing to check the start date that you're choosing when applying. and particularly for the February intakes, because obviously that's a little bit outside of the normal start dates that we normally have in October, for example. So you'll find applicants will find on the UCAS website and on our own website that there will be a February intake option, which if they are applying to that route, then that's the one they need to select, so that when we receive the application in my team, we know exactly which part of the year the applicants want to apply to, and then we can process it accordingly. Just as part of the application, we ask about educational history, any paid employment that applicants have undertaken, and also, probably most importantly, a list of your qualifications, including those that may still be completing. So they might still be completing qualifications. So it's really important that we capture all of that information in an application from the start. Also, in support of that, we ask for a personal statement, and that's in support of an application. That's for postgraduate and undergraduate applications. We do have a bit of guidance on our website it's got a short video about how to do a personal statement, and also some key tips for applicants as well if they want to have a little look on there on how to compile a personal statement. The UCAS website also has some very good information on there about how to complete your application as well, and there's some videos and things like that as well. Also as well, just on top of that, we ask for a supporting reference as well from our undergraduate applicants, and that is part of the UCAS application. So in terms of submitting an application, once that's done, colleagues in my team will then assess it and look at all of those things that I've just talked about, and then they'll make a decision and can make either a conditional or unconditional offer on your application. Conditional offers will be one with a set of conditions attached, and then once they've been met, that offer can then be confirmed, and that's when the application will be accepted. Unconditional offers on the other side of it are those that we make when we have everything. The applicant has already met the criteria, so they've already completed the qualifications and we've got everything that we need and what is required for that course. In terms of the applicant themselves, they then need to respond to that offer. So they need to tell us that they're either accepting it or they don't want to accept it. They might change their mind, for example. So that's just in UCAS, and there's some good prompts to do that in UCAS, and also on our own website. You will create an account when you first log into your application, where you'll be able to track your application from start to finish. In terms of UCAS, that will be through what is called UCAS Track, and that is a very good way of seeing where your application is and at which stage it is with us. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So once you've been secured, the application's been secured and you've got your place confirmed, we then contact our applicants in relation to enrolment and give them lots of information about induction, and we take them through the step-by-step process on how to enrol. So we don't leave applicants alone once we've finished there. Our job is also to deal with the enrolment process and to get all that information out to applicants and to get them enrolled onto their course. And in a nutshell, that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Philippa. Thank you for describing the process so clearly. No, that's really good. So actually, I guess if I'm a student thinking of applying for February, I mean, what I need to do first, because obviously a lot of the information, they don't have to remember all of that, do they? I mean, a lot of that information, of course, is available on the website, on the UCAS site, and of course from you and your team. So I suppose the first thing is, go to the website, have a look at what's available under the 2020 offer, make sure that you understand the entry requirements for the February intake. And then look for the mechanism for applying through the website, whether that's through the link or through UCAS. Is that right? Regardless of undergraduate or postgrad.
Yeah, that's correct.
And those are the first things to think about, and then basically everything sort of follows on from that.
Yeah.
And as Philippa says, the entry requirements are will always vary, of course. But as head of college, I can reassure everybody that our February intake entry requirements are no different from our standard intake ones, and that because they're starting at a different time of the year, really makes no difference either to the standard that we expect for students to apply to them, or indeed from the experience that you'll get, and that's perhaps worth perhaps one of the things that applicants may be concerned about in terms of the sort of experience they're likely to get. So that's the sort of path. And also in terms of any applicants who may be applying from abroad, Philip, is the process different from that? Is that something you can talk about?
I mean, the initial application process is the same in terms of applying, and there are some additional things that some overseas or applicants abroad may need to fulfil. I don't know if you want to come in here, Tommy, and maybe explain a bit about the English language requirements, for example, or any other requirements.
Yeah, absolutely, Tommy. This is your area, isn't it, Tommy?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important to say that, first of all, that process is still very streamlined, very simple. For undergraduate, that would still be through UCAS, and for postgraduate, it would still be through our online portal. One of the key differences, I think, in terms of entry requirements may be an English language requirement. So if you're applying from a country that isn't English isn't a native language, we may look for an additional English language requirement. Typically, this comes in the form of an IELTS, and for every single program that we offer, we will list the English language requirements. So if IELTS isn't something that's within your scope, we do accept a range of other English language proficiency documents, including English or bachelor's degrees, high school English equivalents, and a range of other things, which can be found on the University of Lincoln website. There's a really kind of great breakdown of everything we will accept. That said, if you don't have one of these, we do also offer a range of pre-sessional English programs. So these are programs that are enabled to support you to gain an English language qualification to be able to study with us. And we're also really, really pleased to be able to offer what's called a Winter PEAS Scholarship. So for our Jan-Feb intake, for any students that take part in a PEAS program, if you successfully complete the program, we will be able to give you back the cost of the program in a reduction of the tuition fees. So it's a really, really supportive element. But yeah, absolutely, in terms of that process, it remains the same. I think one of the key differences as well that I'll talk about a little bit later on is the CAS and when that comes into play upon receiving your unconditional offer.
That's great. We'll leave the pleasure of the CAS to a little later on in the discussion, Tommy. Thank you for that. And actually, so the PEAS course that you mentioned, the English program, that's online now, isn't it? So students can study that wherever they are, and that was quite a successful part of our most recent intake. Yes,
absolutely. So we offer it's an online program and a blended program. So a blended program is a new way where we offer 2 weeks online, while students may be required to self-isolate, followed by 3 weeks on campus. So yeah, we do have an online approach, both 5 weeks and 10 weeks, and a blended approach as well. So we really try and cater to students' needs, whatever they may be.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Tommy. And of course, the blended option that you're offering at PEAS reflects the nature of the learning when students come to campus. So in February, we fully expect still to be under some restrictions due to the pandemic. But our offer is indeed a blended offer. We're putting face-to-face teaching into a very safe environment. Our campus is now well equipped for teaching under social lockdown restrictions, and that blended offer is certainly the nature of our pedagogy as well. So they'll experience both of that if they take the PEAS course and transfer to us. It can be a similar sort of learning experience for them. So, all right, brilliant. Thanks very much, Tommy. So I think the next concern potentially in terms of order of things after thinking about applying is, of course, accommodation. And this is where we have Ben, who's indeed in some of our student accommodation at the moment. Ben, and of course, students applying for February may be concerned that perhaps accommodation perhaps may not be available because perhaps it's all been taken by students who started in October. So perhaps, Ben, you could just take us through a little bit about what are some of our wonderful accommodation that's available at the University of Lincoln there.
Okay, well, over the last 2 or 3 years, Craig, we have had some MSc courses start with us in January and February, both linked to the pre-sessional course that Tommy was just mentioning. And sometimes people might move straight from one accommodation to another. But for the main course, we have a number of locations that are set aside for the MSc program, which will go February to the following January. And that this year should offer at least 3 locations. And the difference here is that these are locations that will offer the student the full period of accommodation. There are many other options that we run that people will be able to see on our websites and our information pages, which will have vacancy in. So at the moment, I happen to be sat in one of our rooms at our Signet Wharf development. I'll try and do a show and tell with I haven't made my own bed this morning or put all of those cushions there. I'm sure you can tell, but they're very, very spacious, mainly en suite rooms as well. But we also have set aside some accommodation in what we call our courts value this year, because we also know that quite a number of international students will come from backgrounds where they're not potentially funded to a massive degree, and they need to be careful about their budget. So we also have ensuite options and non-ensuite options within our Lincoln Courts value process, which actually can be signed up without an advance payment, no guarantor is required, etc. So there is then also studios within our gateway development, which is one of the things about Lincoln for international students to try and imagine is that we are in the middle of a city centre. We are a very long campus instead of an oval campus compared to many other locations. So that means we might have some locations that are actually not physically on the university campus, but they are absolutely 2 minutes walk away. They're around the edges of the campus, and they still have the 24-hour support from the university accommodation team, 24-hour support or further support from our security teams, and also our residential wardens team is there to be able to provide further elements of support should people need it. So really, in the first instance for the MSc program, there are 3 main choices, which we expect to be our Lincoln Courts, which are our original student village when we first opened as a university, the Gateway, which will have studio apartments, and these apartments are generally in what we call studio rooms for independent living, but in an apartment setting, so you have a common space that you can share with other people. And this was actually designed around international students, because trying to create kitchens that covered all of the different types of catering requirements that international students have, it actually went down really, really successfully, that they can live independently but then socialize with other colleagues who live within that apartment. And we are very hopeful that we will have some options within the brand new opening this February St. Mark's Student Village, which is literally opposite the university, a stone's throw away across the road in front of our Isaac Newton Engineering Building. A lot of those options are also available if we have any undergraduate students potentially watching this that are coming through, that are also will be fixed for the period of study. And this is one of the important things to try and pick up on, is that whilst individuals may look on the internet and find lots of other information, they will only be buying into a place that is between now or February when they arrive and the end of this academic year, so June or July, and therefore people would then need to reorganize their accommodation from June or July to the following January, and that can be a bit of a challenge. So people just need to watch out for that. The other thing that I would like to just make sure I've got in is the pre-sessional course that Tommy was mentioning has an accommodation option with it as well. So people could come for the pre-sessional course and not book any other accommodation if they needed to do the pre-sessional course, which Tommy will be a little bit more informative of, because I never quite know exactly who is coming on and how many people are coming on. But one of the great advantages that people have coming on the pre-sessional course is that we provide accommodation with the course, and that then puts them in Lincoln to be able to have a walk around. And it gives them an idea when I say the Gateway is not very far away from the university, or St. Mark's is immediately opposite the university. They understand what that distance is. So there's a great opportunity then to actually think about selecting their main accommodation once they've arrived in the city, rather than doing it from home and relying on the internet. But here is a student room I want to show you now. Does that help, Craig?
That's fantastic, Ben. Thank you so much. And again, thanks for taking us through all of the various options that are available to it. And I think some of the things that I pick up from what you're saying is that the key question. Yes, of course, accommodation is available in February. There's a wide variety of accommodation available to the students still, even for our February intake. And of course, it's really hard for us to give a flavour of it, isn't it? But our students will always tell us that we've got we're in this really very, very unusual position as a university with this kind of city centre campus, everybody close by, many of the students accommodated directly on campus. And even if they're not, it's never more than a short distance away. And indeed, we had a question about that, in fact, from Flower Power. I love the title. I've been a 60s child myself. So is accommodation available close to the campus, please, as I don't drive? And yes, indeed. And I think Ben has given us a flavour for that. And the universities are measured on many odd things. And one of the things Lincoln is measured on is the average distance that students have to walk to get to class. And Lincoln is one of the closest in the country. So it's just to give you an idea that it is, if you've not been to Lincoln and you've not seen it, everything is really close by, and even if you're living out, you're never going to be probably more than 10, 15 minutes walk away. It's not one of those universities where you're stuck in a big city accommodation block somewhere on the outskirts and you've got a bus or bike in or something. So yes, that's indeed one of the really strong characteristics of studying at Lincoln. So Ben, I think there's an email, isn't there? Is it accommodation that students contact us? There we go.
Questions, that email will get you the answer.
Right.
If the people who manage our teams who manage that email don't know the answer directly, they can find somebody about my height, my size, and we'll get the information out to you straight away. We also have a very in-depth resource page, which potentially Chris can pop up for us as well, which gives you a lot of photographs and a lot of more information about each site and what's available, and links through to our social media pages where you can see actual walkthroughs of a building. So here am I sat in a room and you can see a really good storage unit behind me, very nice bed. But when you see somebody walk through the building, through the front door, into the apartment, into the bedroom and through the kitchen, you get a stronger feel of what it's really like. And so all of those things are on our resource page, accommodation.Lincoln. There it is. See, once you've got a producer, it's easy, isn't it?
As if by magic. So there's lots of accommodation on there, and there are those virtual walkthroughs. They're fascinating. You can kind of see the campus on the website without having to be physically present. Not as good, of course, but it's a second best, if you like. And the other thing, perhaps, just to emphasise that Ben mentioned in his introduction there is the other wardens. We also, and the point about everything being close by is that Lincoln is a very safe city. And we have added to that feeling of safety by we now have wardens in the buildings who are there as a first point of contact should there be anything that goes wrong inside the accommodation at any time. So Lincoln puts an awful lot of time and effort into thinking about, not even just in the current circumstances and the pandemic, but more generally, that we have a very safe environment as well. And this is often a strong appeal for parents as well as students, particularly if they're sending their offspring from abroad to Lincoln, that it really is a very safe place to study and to work, and our accommodation is part of that safety net, as it were. So Ben, thank you so much for that. I think we've had another question in on the programs, on the offer of the programs in February about work experience, I think. So we perhaps just pop that question up now. We can just deal with it before we move on again. Let me just come to that one. Let me just see. There it is. This is from Jamie. I've read that Lincoln isn't offering the work placement year in February. Is that correct? So Jamie, what I would suggest that you do is, if a particular program that you're interested in, and if it's a master's program, it's not clear from your question whether you're undergraduate or master's. So it will be dependent on the program that you're interested in studying with us. And we've now got 25 MSc programs that are now available for February. So there's a large degree of choice. And whether the work placement or not is formally available, because there's a couple of ways of thinking about work placement. One is it's built into the program. So you have the opportunity, for example, to study a professional practice year or indeed a year abroad, actually. But also, even in the pandemic, what we're doing is finding opportunities for virtual work placements and also for people to come and do guest talks to the classes, because even in the pandemic, actually, especially in the pandemic, it's sometimes easier for somebody to give a virtual talk to a class rather than a real one. So it's hugely important that for all of our programs that you're in touch and you have the ability to go in and study real practical examples or cases. So what I would suggest you do is if you have a particular interest in one of our programs, go and have a look, have a chat with the program leader about it. If in doubt, just contact one of us. And they will talk you through what's available in terms of work placements, because obviously at the moment there are some restrictions on what we can and can't do. albeit we're all sort of hoping that that will start to change by the time we get to around about Easter time. So thanks for the question, Jamie. It's a great question. Right, so without further ado, we'll move on to another obviously really important area for our students, which is about money. So Catherine, I think you're going to talk us through all to do with financing the studies that our students may be looking at. Catherine.
Yes, hello. Absolutely. Really, really important part of planning your studies is working out how you're going to pay for it all. So the first thing I'm going to talk about are some of the things that are the same for both postgraduates and undergraduate students. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how those packages are different. So the first thing to remember, as Philippa said, is that you are applying to go to university in the academic year of 2020-2021. So the applications for student loans from Student Finance England, Scotland, Ireland or Wales are open now. So you'll go online, go onto the DirectGov website and you can find all the application forms on there. They're open now. You're applying for 2020-2021. So you don't need to wait. It's this academic year right now. You can apply straight away. You apply as if you're going to go to university and you know where you're going to go. So you're going to go to Lincoln. You fill all of the application form in now because the assessment process can start to take place and you won't get your loan until you actually enroll anyway. So you can go and have a look right now and see what's available and how that actually works. So it's available to home and EU students. So if you're an undergraduate student coming this year, coming in February, and you're an EU national, then you are eligible for the EU loan. So that's the tuition fee loan. So you can log on right now and have a look and see what that means. And so I'm going to talk about undergraduate first, I think. So the undergraduate loan is a means tested loan. So how much you get is very much dependent on your household income. And if you have questions about how that might affect you, then you can email us directly and we can give you some personal information because that's not the sort of thing normally you want to share with everybody else. You will always get your tuition fee loan, provided you meet the eligibility criteria, and that's to do with residency and whether or not you've studied before. So if you've never studied before, you've always lived in the UK, or if you're an EU national, you've always lived in the EU, then the eligibility is quite straightforward. If you have studied before, then there are some additional questions and you can get the answers to those questions from us directly. That's not a problem at all. One little cautionary point for undergraduate students: if you have enrolled already this academic year and changed your mind, then that can have an impact. So please ask us if you're at all concerned about that. But if you haven't, then that's not a problem and you just meet the criteria as you ordinarily would do.
So Catherine, is that if, say, somebody had decided to start in October and then maybe decided against that and now thinking of applying in February, is that the sort of situation you're thinking of?
That is exactly the situation. That can cause some problems. So just ask us before you make any decisions about that. But if you've never done that before, that isn't a problem at all. And then moving on to the postgraduate loan. So the packages are completely different. So the undergraduate loan is two loans. You get your tuition fee loan and you get a maintenance loan, one to pay the fees, one to live off. They join together, that's your student loan. For the postgraduate loan, it is one fixed figure that EU and UK students are all eligible for this year. It's one fixed figure. I think it's £11,222, but it's around that figure. And that's aimed to be a contribution towards the cost of your studies. So, you have to make payments for your fees and your living costs and all of those things. And that's the contribution towards it. Now, if you have enrolled on a course, let's say, just like Craig explained, you might have started in September, October and thought, oh no, do you know what, this isn't quite right. And now you've changed your mind. There is a slight difference with the postgraduate loan, but you can still only have that £11,222 for that year. Okay, so again, just little questions that may be things that you're thinking about, and we can help you personally with those decisions if you're making them. But other than that, again, you can apply now. The applications are open. It's academic year 2020-21. As Philippa says, it is important that you check what course you're doing, that it's the February course that you're enrolling onto. So that's the course you need to make sure you include in your applications to student finance.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So, and I think probably one of the key messages there, of course, is that the finance can be a very individual thing, can't it? Obviously, it's a very personal thing, and you obviously offer that personal service and advice. If anybody just is really in any doubt about that, they can contact you, can't they? Is that right? I think there we go. There's the email that they get. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, getting your finances right at the beginning, it means that you can focus on your studies, which is what you're wanting to do, which is brilliant. So, you might be a mature student, you might have welfare benefits, you might have children to think about, you might have studied before. All of those questions are really important, and we can answer those personally for you. If you send us an email to that email address, you will get to the people who can answer those questions for you.
Don't hesitate, everybody. That's part of what we do is provide that kind of personalised service. So thank you so much for the brief on finance, Catherine. Now we've had a couple of questions come in, Ben, about accommodation again, and so one really interesting one that we'll just post up about the sort of the duration of accommodation. I think you did touch on this, but obviously it's of concern to some of our students. So Emma's asked, if I start in February, will I have accommodation through to September? Sorry, I didn't really understand that part. Ben, would you mind picking that one up again for us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, effectively what's happened to us is that with all of the changes that we've had to work with through COVID, lots of courses have started at different times, and lots of colleges have been really helpful to accommodation services and started to adjust all of their course dates to start at a different time and end at a different time. So we will be offering, normally we'd offer a core period for all of the information we would have. So I'm not quite sure which course program Emma would be on, and even if I knew right now, it wouldn't quite help me because I'd probably need you to tell me the end date. But we will have an option that will offer accommodation through to the end of August. Now, that will be in what will be our, if you like, moved on summer program, whereas our summer program would normally have been June and July. That will generally be September-ish now. And for anybody who might need an extra few days, an extra week or so to complete a particular program, we can usually solve that with them with a bit of a small extension. If the course program, when you first make your application for accommodation, you will see those dates. And again, if there's a question about the dates, then let us know, because that might mean we've got a course coming through that we haven't got the full set of information for. So ready for this, we looked at some of the information, the courses that are coming through LIBS, ready for January and February. So we think we've got the core group sorted, but every now and again, a particular course might just jump up and change on us. And we try to be as flexible as we can. So initially, there's a core period, and there will be options that will go to the end of August. So if that picks up that September part, because our new intake will start coming back to us in September. Is the challenge we need to look at.
Ben, thank you so much for that. And again, accommodation at is the email, and hopefully that's answered Emma's question. But of course, you can contact us if there's a particular course that she's interested in. There's the email address, accommodation@lincoln.ac.uk. Emma, do please, once you've got an idea of the course, perhaps that's something you're in, do let us know. So that's great. Thank you, Emma, for the question. So, Tommy, we saved the best till last. International. I mean, we touched on a little bit earlier in terms of the. In terms of some of the conditions around English language for any international students, but of course at Lincoln International Business School, I'm very proud that we have a very high proportion of our students are international. So we may well be a few who are thinking of February who are indeed abroad. So Tommy, what are the other considerations that international students should be thinking about in terms of making it easy for them to apply for February? Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Craig. So I think it's really important to say that one of the biggest questions we get is why should I come to the UK? Over 500,000 students every year kind of come to the UK from overseas. And actually, it's found by the British Council that 1 in 4 world leaders at the moment have studied in the UK at some point. So it's a really, really great destination. In terms of that Lincoln process, I think one of the great things to consider here is scholarships. So we have a really, really great range of scholarships available to students throughout that Jan-Feb intake, including a £2,000 global postgraduate scholarship. So this is a guaranteed scholarship for people that have a bachelor's degree with a minimum grade of 2.2 or equivalent. So you don't need to apply, you don't need to do anything for it. We will give you £2,000 off your tuition fee for a master's programme, so long as you have a 2.2. Equally, we also have a £2,000 undergraduate scholarship off your first year of study. So again, we want to make sure that we're being as accessible as possible to our international community. For some regions, we also have a £5,000 country scholarship as well that can be attained for the Jan-Feb intake through an interview. So you will have an interview with someone like myself as part of our team. So this includes Africa, Egypt, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, Thailand, Turkey, and Vietnam. So if you're one of those countries, if you're from one of those countries and you're thinking about applying to Lincoln, make sure you get in touch with the International Office and we may be able to arrange a scholarship interview for you. So there's lots of great reasons to come and study at Lincoln. So we've already touched on the application process quite a lot, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that. Again, Philip has made some really, really fantastic points. And it is a very, very simple 4-step process. So you find your course, you ensure that you're in line with the entry requirements, whether you need a pre-sessional English program or not. Make sure that you've figured out the tuition fees, living costs, any scholarships that you're applicable for, and then you just complete your online application. And from there, we will review that in a timely manner and get a decision back to you. If you would like some additional help, Craig, we also work with kind of international representatives all around the world. So whatever country you're in, you can kind of head to one of our specific country web pages, and they will list kind of all of the different country specific entry requirements for you as a student, but also any partners around the world that we work with. Now, hopefully, as Craig has mentioned, hopefully in time very soon, we'll be back to a situation where you can go and visit one of those representatives, and we as representatives will be able to come to you. But for now, we are able to offer virtual appointments and lots of other things, speaking to students on programs, loads of different initiatives that we can offer to ensure that you're getting a real taste of Lincoln before you arrive. So again, I've already kind of touched on the PEAS program that we offer, Craig, as you mentioned right at the start, but we are offering a blended PEAS program that does come with accommodation. And upon successful completion, we can offer students the cost of the course off of their tuition fees through a winter PEAS scholarship. And I believe we had a 99.3% pass rate for students taking this program previously. So it shows that we're really kind of there to support students wherever we are able to. So again, something I've touched on is the CAS. So once you've received an unconditional offer from us, you'll be able to apply for a CAS letter. So typically, this requires a £2,000 deposit. And this letter, you'll be able to apply for your visa with that. It's a confirmation of acceptance of study from the University of Lincoln. It's a letter that suggests that the University of Lincoln would be really, really happy to welcome you as a student. So that's a really, really great way of getting involved. And you can find all of the deadlines for those CAS requests on our website. So we have a really, really clear breakdown of whatever course you're applying for, when you need to apply for your CAS, and then when you can apply for your visa as well. So again, you can find lots of information about that on the website. So I think the only kind of final thing for me to cover is just talking a little bit about how we're supporting students who are kind of planning to study here in Jan-Feb. We are obviously still in COVID-19 at the moment, and we are supporting students all throughout that. So if a student is required to self-isolate, they will be able to do so for 14 days free of charge within their accommodation. I know, as Ben mentioned, we've got a really, really great range of accommodation available, and we will be able to offer that. Something that the government is releasing now is called a test to release initiative. So if you aren't part of a travel corridor, you are required to self-isolate. After 5 days, you will be eligible to complete a test. And upon receiving a negative result, you will no longer be required to self-isolate. So again, we've got a really, really considerable support package available for you, including supermarket vouchers, kind of a UK and a native buddy, alongside any kind of food parcels, bedding, care packages that you might need. But we do want to get you through that process as quickly as possible. So if you aren't part of a travel corridor, you can complete this test. And upon a successful negative result, you will be able to kind of roam the campus using our kind of one-way systems and take on our blended learning approach, which Craig, I know you mentioned earlier on. We've got lots of information coming up very soon about that approach, so kind of keep posted on the international website.
Tommy, thank you so much for that. And actually, again, you've emphasised just how much effort we've put into making the campus a safe space. And I think the evidence was in that in our October start, we had 380 international students started with us on campus who gave us that vote of confidence that actually, despite everything, they were still prepared to come and study with us. And I know that just from talking to some of them, they're delighted that they made that choice. So, and it will be better in February because we're still learning about how to do that, as Tommy has explained. So, Tommy, thank you so much for that. And again, so proud of the fact that we are a global university, an international university in the centre of Lincoln, and our international students are a huge part of that. So, Tommy, thank you for the update on that. We are getting up against our time, but we have had one other question on accommodation again. Ben, you are proving very popular this morning, and this is one about the application not yet being open. So, Ben, would you mind picking that one up for us?
Yes, this will be depending exactly on which kind of course Jamie's dealing with. If he's doing MSc, which we understand is a February to January course, then that application is not available at this point. The teams are working on it. The reason why it's not open is we've been hoping, which we've had some confirmation this week, that our brand new development, St. Mark's, will be available to us. And we've had some confirmation of that just this week. So that the teams are working on that. So it should be Tuesday or Wednesday that the MSc application will be live. If Jamie's studying for a semester, what we now know as the new semester, then there is an exchange option on there already, or possibly study abroad. I can't quite remember the title that it's on there, as you declare what kind of student you are, and then that at the moment has one option. But again, on what we've been trying to wait for is these confirmations, so we can add a few more options onto it as well. So that is there to apply for today if it's a semester option for semester B, but if it's the MSc, that will come very early in next week.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thanks, Ben. So Jamie, yes, you can understand the reason why that's not yet available is just we're looking to have more options available to you. So please do keep in touch with us on that, and it should be available really, really soon. So thank you for the question. That was an important clarification for us. So, okay, great. Well, I'm not seeing any of the questions coming in from our observers. So I'll draw things to a conclusion there. It just remains me to thank all of my colleagues for doing such a good job in explaining all of those quite complicated aspects for students who perhaps aren't used to this of the experience that they'll have to go through to get to us. Just to re-emphasize, if you have any doubts or any questions that you need for your own personal circumstances, please do contact us through one of the email addresses that we've described to you. And above all, we hope that we can welcome you, if not virtually, certainly face-to-face at the University of Lincoln and at the Business School in our February intake. So thank you for everybody who's been listening. And we're going to finish with just a short 2-minute medley of snaps, just to give you a bit more of a flavour of what it's like to come and study at the Lincoln International Business School. Thank you, everyone.
Why did I choose Lincoln International Business School? I chose it because I fell in love with it at the application day.
I chose Lincoln Business School because after speaking to people about their experiences here, I knew that I'd be happy.
So doing a placement gives you so much more confidence when entering the workplace for the first time, because you've got that experience underneath your belt.
Not only will you learn loads of new things and discover what you want to do in the future, but you'll also be more determined than ever when you come back to the final year to complete your degree.
Anything I've learned from like marketing to business management, I've put into practice here and obviously improved on it. A year of working in the business, you achieve incredible things.
Hello, my name is Hao Quach. I'm a principal lecturer and program leader for banking and finance. I'm the founder of the Student Managed Fund at the University of Lincoln. The fund is organized the same way as any professional investment company in the real world. It is one of only few of this kind in the UK. Students participating in the fund have the opportunities to meet with experts from the field, and they are given additional trainings to their works.
So one of the things I enjoy
about being a member of Aylesmith is that I get to learn in a practical sense, which I find much more enjoyable and interesting than just learning straight from a textbook.
Being part and a member of investment fund is getting many benefits, and the most I enjoy the personal feedback from industry experts.
Also, it's a great way to develop presentation skills and soft skills, which are highly important for the world of work.
The ultimate goal of the fund, therefore, is for students to gain work experience while they are studying at the University of Lincoln. That helps them prepare for the job market after graduation.
Hi, so I'm Eleanor Priest and I've graduated today with a first class honours in business and finance. I can't even put into words how amazing it was to sit in that cathedral, which is stunning. Like, the pictures don't even do it justice. It just feels so surreal, and it's amazing to celebrate with everybody that you've worked with for the past 4 years, and obviously all your family who have supported you throughout. So yeah, it's been amazing, and it's definitely one of my highlights from university.